Welcome back. On the 27th, after having reported asymptomatic infections of over 3,000, Shanghai is locking down the city. The lockdown will go on in two phases to carry out COVID testing over a 9-day period. The eastern side of the Huangpu River, which divides Shanghai, will be under lockdown, and its residents tested between March the 28th and April the 1st, followed by similar restrictions across its western side. With cases surging, how will these phased lockdown measures impact China's financial hub? As we are entering the third year of this pandemic, are there any other solutions to better control and prevent a resurgence of infections? We're very honored to be joined at this hour from Nanjing, actually, by Wu Zhiwei, Professor and Director of the Center for Public Health Research at the Medical School of Nanjing University. Professor Wu, welcome back to the hub. Let's talk about Shanghai, which is in the global media spotlight. Shanghai has hit its daily cases record on Monday with 96 infections and also up to over 4,000, in fact, asymptomatic cases. What caused such an upsurge?
Well, I think there are probably mainly two reasons. One is the virus. Omicron, we knew that it's highly transmissible, but it doesn't cause as severe as the symptoms as Delta virus. The second reason is that most of the Shanghai populations are fully vaccinated. So the vaccine does have a certain role in preventing the infection becoming a severe symptoms. So I think those two are the major reasons contributing to the very high number of asymptomatic cases in Shanghai. We see that more than 95% of the newly infected cases are all asymptomatic. So that's why it's so challenging to contain the virus from spreading.
Even on social media, there has been some vibrant debate over there. People have different opinions about this lockdown or, not locking down earlier. Some are against lockdown, while the others criticizing the city of Shanghai for locking down too late until the cases have surged. Others pointed out to the case of Shenzhen in South China, where it locked down for a whole week and then it reopened. Everything looked fine. What is your take on this?
Well, simply locking down is not a solution. The real question is not simply that whether you completely get rid of the virus, you see zero cases. The real question is how sustainable the lockdown would be, and how sustainable the zero tolerance policy would be carried on. We have seen from the last years that we have implemented very strict public health intervention approach. All the relevant required measures are in place, but still the virus comes back. That actually taught us that you can't completely get rid of the virus. The issue is that we need to have a sustainable policy with minimal disruption of daily life and economic activities. So this is something I think we at the time need to think carefully how this dynamic zero tolerance policy should be implemented.
But what could be a viable, feasible alternative to the current so-called dynamic zero COVID policy, which has been debated fiercely, not just here in China, but overseas?
Well, the dynamic zero tolerance policy has been doing a wonderful job in the early stage of the pandemic. It actually flattened flatten the dynamic of virus cases, and which actually allowed the hospital and health system to deal with the infection very effectively in China. But now we have a population with nearly 90% of a fully vaccinated population, and we have learned a lot in how to deal with the virus. And also, just recently, the authority authorized the import of the therapeutic drug Paxlovid. So we basically have all tools in dealing with the virus. So under the new circumstances, we should focus on certain highly vulnerable populations instead of doing more kind of a comprehensive citywide lockdown, that kind of intervention approach. So I think we need to focus on the more smaller areas and doing more kind of effective intervention approach.
All right, let's talk about COVID and its mutations. A new COVID-19 variant, unofficially known as Delta-Cron, that is a combination of Delta and Omicron variants. They have been detected in a small number of cases in Europe, according to WHO. And also earlier, a combination of Omicron BA1 and BA2 was tested out by PCR in Israel. With the virus mutating and various combining, how efficient is vaccination? And what about, booster shots?
Well, this virus actually is highly adaptable and mutating very fast. A few days ago, I was reviewing a scientific article, and you can see that not only Delta is recombining with Omicron, the Omicron new subvariant has all other elements from very different viruses as well. So basically, this is a virus under rapid evolution to adapt to the environment. So we are seeing this trend keep going in the near future. But from the data coming back from clinical studies, both in China and in the Western countries, that the current vaccines are still doing something in curb the virus pathogenesis. So, clearly, that although the protective role of the vaccines are reduced, but still it is doing the job in preventing severe diseases. So still, I would encourage people who have not taken the vaccine to take the vaccine, and for those who already taken 2 doses, they should take an additional booster shot.
All right, Professor Wu, can you educate us about the mutation itself? I mean, is there a finite period where mutations go on, or can mutations just go on indefinitely? What kind of interventions is considered most necessary?
Well, based on the information we have, when you look at it, there seem to be the virus actually could pick up those pieces from other coronaviruses as well and combine them, and basically some of the virus could retain the transmissibility of the other virus. So that's how the virus actually is adapting and surviving in the environment. Once you have the vaccine there, basically the immunity generated by the vaccine will also drive the virus to evolve. So basically, this is a kind of a natural selection process. The virus, once they replicate, they will generate a lot of progeny viruses, and then the progeny virus will be selected by the environment, by individuals which are infecting, and also by the environment. Well, whether you have the vaccine generate the immunity. So it's a very hard to predict what kind of new variant will come out. But this is something actually scientists are facing with, and we are looking at the possibility of the virus would eventually evolve into a new variant. So very much that's what the people are saying, is that the SARS-CoV-2 will eventually become the common flu. That's how the flu virus is evolving.
But do you think it will become a common flu when you think about the fatality rate and the infection rate?
Well, based on the current data, looks like the SARS-CoV-2 virus is becoming increasingly like a common flu. The transmissibility is increased. Its disease-making ability is weakened. And also the virus mutating very rapidly. That's what we knew about the flu. We knew that the flu every year, the flu would be quite different from the previous year. So that's why every year we need to predict the coming year's new strain and make some vaccines. So my personal anticipation is that we probably will facing the similar situation in the future with SARS-CoV-2.
All right, it looks like somehow we'll have to wait it out. Finally, on Shanghai's lockdown, we saw images of empty streets, empty highways, empty buildings. It is reminiscent of Wuhan 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic. What do you think will be the impact for China's financial hub on Shanghai, socially and economically?
Well, I think the impact will be huge. If you look at Shanghai's productivity output in the country, it accounts nearly 4%. In the financial sector, it accounts nearly 9%. So it's a huge chunk of country's economic activities. And Shanghai also is a huge city. Once you lock down, all the manufacturing, logistics, financial activities will be stopped or affected. So I think the impact will not be small. It will be huge. But fortunately, the planned lockdown is short and brief. I hope that Shanghai is doing well and doing it is expected and clear the virus and let people come back to normal social life and activities.
Yeah, Professor Wu, are you confident that the targeted lockdown this time around, the phased lockdown in Shanghai, will achieve its desired results?
Well, I'm not surprised if you lock down and implement the strict measures, the virus will be cleared. But as I just mentioned earlier, how sustainable it is. We have seen many such circumstances that when the virus is completely cleared in the city, and after a few weeks, a few months, it comes back. So that's why I raised the question earlier that we need to carefully think about this. Dynamic zero tolerance policy. We need to think in a different way, trying to find a balance between the virus clearance and the normal social economic life.
All right, Professor Wu Zhiwei, Director of the Center for Public Health Research at Medical School of Nanjing University. Thank you so much for joining us at this hour.
Thank you.
And that will do it for this edition of The Hub on CGTN. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. Our news coverage continues on CGTN. Bye and take care.